sales to being a mother, and for 11 years of her career being the only woman in the business, Carmen Osman has had to learn her fair share of resilience and grit. Carmen has spent the last 19 years in sales working for the likes of Braze, Get, and recently landing a new role after we recorded this episode as an AE at Gartner. I love this chat so much as we speak about how to stay resilient when things get tough, the challenges she faced as a woman and mother in tech sales, and the current climate and realities of redundancies. I hope you enjoy this episode. Today, I am joined by Carmen Osman, previous sales director at Braze, and we're here on this episode to speak about resilience and grit, which hopefully is something that everybody could maybe learn something from at the moment as the market is very tough. But thank you so much, Carmen, for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
So we're speaking about resilience, as I just mentioned. To start this conversation off, the big question, what does resilience mean to you?
I think it's that driving force that just keeps you going and doesn't let you say no, take no for an answer. It's something that you just have within you that just keeps you. Sales is a tough job, right? Mm-hmm. And it's that constant pushback and getting knocked down. But I think that if you've got that resilience, it's just that driving force that's going to keep you moving forward.
I love that answer. And as you mentioned, sales is a tough job. I think if everybody was amazing and a high performer at it, then we'd all be doing it and we'd probably all be out of a job as well. But a lot of people do fail at sales because it is that really tough job and it does take a special kind of person. Why do you think people aren't successful or aren't those top performers?
Yeah, I think it just ties back to that, again, as you say, the resilience piece, because you have to have that built inside of you. I think you get up, you do this, can be very repetitive, especially as you're starting out. And as you are constantly getting told no and getting up and having to do the same job day in, day out, you know, it's if you can't get up every day and redo and learn and repeat and rinse and repeat on a consistent basis, you know, you're going to get worn down and that's going to take its toll, not only mentally, but it's not something that you can do consistently for a long time. And I think that's where you can really shine through, and that's where that resilience will come through, because that's what's going to get you where you need to be and get you consistently performing as well.
Is there anything that you do mentally to keep yourself on track and to stay focused and committed to the end cause when you're going through really, really tough times?
Yeah, I think we've all been there, right? Especially with things happening at the moment that you just don't want to get out of bed. You just want to stay in bed, and it's
Netflix sounds so much nicer than going
under
to
the duvet and just chill. But it's hard, and I think for me, I'm very driven, I'm very motivated. So that's, you know, that's what keeps me going. That's what gets me up. I've got a young family, so I've got my whys and I've got a lot of things that really push me. But I think you have to just be super focused on what your goals are, what you're trying to achieve. Be very structured in what you set for yourself and how you approach that. So whether that's through your time management or what your weekly goals are, your daily goals are. And you've got to be laser focused, and you've just got to make sure that you get those done no matter what. And I think if you break them down into smaller chunks and you can not only do weekly but daily goals, whether that's hitting a certain amount of calls or whether that's the meetings or whether it's getting through to a certain account or whatever that might be in your role, I think as long as you're quite granular and you make sure that you set those goals and you're hitting what you need to do for the day and breaking them down into sizable chunks, then you can push through, and it doesn't seem as big. It's easier to get up and focus on smaller chunks than it is just looking at a daunting task ahead.
I am so guilty of it. I have the biggest to-do list, and in my to-do list, I make it my weekly to-do list that I do on my daily one. Yeah. So I'm like, here's everything that I need to do, and then you look at it, and then you tick off not even a quarter of it, and then I have this sense of I'm a failure because I didn't achieve everything that I set out to, but I'm just making it so unrealistic for myself. But I think, and I know we're maybe diverting a little bit off topic, but it all does link with how you stay resilient and motivated and have that grit to keep going. Like with this, these to-do lists and making sure that you're planning your days, how do you, I guess, separate the things that are going to really drive you forward and have an impact in your day to the things that maybe aren't things that you need to focus on now, right now?
Yeah, of course. I think you could spend 8 hours working, but none of it's being productive.
Yeah, you're staring at your screen, you're like, I haven't stopped.
And I'm so busy. Busy doing what? What does
Yeah.
it mean? It means nothing. What impact's it having? What value is it driving? We're all, I see it happen time and time again. Yeah. I think, again, those chunks really have to be categorized like you would anything, like A, B's and C's. What's going to impact my day-to-day? What's going to make a difference for my team, for the revenue, for my quota, and hit those buckets. I think we all get focused on having so many meetings and just having meetings for the sake of meetings, or you're not actually driving any productivity. At the end of the day, if you're in sales, you've got a quota to hit. You've got to hit your number. What's going to drive that? What's going to make sure that you're exceeding and you're getting a great paycheck at the end of the month? Those are the things to focus on, and those KPIs are going to be targeted. So yeah, really just segmenting your list, not having a list as long as you're on, or even breaking that down into daily and just making it manageable and making it little chunks that can help you get to your goal as quickly as possible.
Yeah, and I love ticking things off. So I put like my half breakfast. I'm like, tick. Never miss that. I'm like, well done, Izzy. We've accomplished something today. I'm massively into time blocking at the moment. Yeah. It's just helping me be so effective because I'm a kind of person that likes to do so many different projects and I can get so distracted so easily, where if a Slack goes off or I get an email or somebody comes up to my desk, I can then get unfocused and be like, oh, okay, sure. Yeah, I'll just do that little task for you. And it's like, no, actually having that regimented like time block of I'm only focusing on this does really help. Yeah. The beginning of your career, you started in door-to-door telesales. Was it telesales?
Managed print services. So what that is printers and photocopiers. Okay. Yeah, super glamorous stuff.
Wow. But that must have taught you so much. Yeah. Having that drive to get up and physically knock on people's doors. Talk to me about that.
It was hard work. It was a good 12, 14 years ago. And it was just, we didn't have tools. There was nothing. You had to go out, knock on doors, look at what people were printing on, and introduce yourself that way. So it was really, really, and we used to do it from 10 till 2 o'clock every day.
Oh my goodness.
That was my first job when I finished university. And it was...
Did you at least have a nice road? Like, were you in like Richmond?
No, I lived in South Africa. It was industrial estates, not very glamorous. It couldn't have been worse, to be honest. Yeah, it was not fun, but really hard work. And I think that just ties into, if you're exposed to working like that, and if you think that's the way that it should be done. When I moved into SaaS, I was just like, this is fantastic. All these tools, these things that you can have. I couldn't understand why anyone complained about, having to pick up a phone or having to knock or canvas or knock on doors. I know it's not done as much now, but it's the fundamentals. And that's what taught me to almost not take no for an answer because, I had to do certain, I was targeted on how many canvases or door. We used to have to bring slips back, like complimentary slips, and say, right, this is what we did, and that's how we'd bring, and then we'd call them, follow up, and do things.
Oh my goodness.
Or we'd get given like a yellow pages, and you'd have to go and phone. So it was really intense, but that structure and just doing it every single day. And it wasn't fun work. It was just having to get up and make sure that you did it. And then when you get the wins, it just gave you that motivation and that push to keep you going. But yeah, really, really tough. But wouldn't have changed it for the world. I think that's what's really made me want to be successful and really given me that push. And luckily I did that for a year and got promoted quite quickly because it was tough work, really tough work.
I love that. You mentioned that what made you want to be successful. What does success look like to you?
I think for me there's lots of different buckets for success. I think there's having a great track record and doing well and being recognized for your achievements and rewarded accordingly. I think that's a really nice feeling, especially in sales. We're hunters, we want to win, we want to go out, you want to win that business, and you put the work in to win those new logos, and that's a really good feeling. I think once you've got all of those in place, financially you're rewarded. That's just a given based on everything else. Well, exactly. But I think that's, if you've got the character and the track record, the rest will come. And, the financial reward is a given. The progression is a given based on your performance and how you're achieving and how well you're doing. So I think, there's a lot of things. It's progression. It's being financially rewarded because, hey, that's why we're in sales.
Yeah.
But also being recognised for doing a really good job and working in a team that's doing really well and being really successful.
The door-to-door sales that you went through at the beginning of your career and the resilience that it taught you. And I think with this new generation coming into tech sales and into the working world, there is that lack of, I think, self-confidence because maybe, and this is a big stereotype, I'm very aware, but there is that they have that instant gratification. We're in a generation where everything is at our fingertips. You don't have to wait for anything, and you lack that maybe patience to have that resilience to go and knock on every single door and not see a reward for a long time. You want that instant reward, and if you're not getting that, people can feel a little bit like, oh, well, maybe I need to move on, or maybe this isn't for me, and then there's a lot of like changing. Why do you think that people are lacking that confidence to put themselves out there like that and stick at it? And also, how can we, as sales leaders and people within the industry, inspire those to be like, actually, no, just keep going.
Yeah.
It's okay. It doesn't need to happen tomorrow.
Yeah. It's a good question. I think it's very hard to teach people that. Again, it goes back to, I think that you have that in you, and it's a very tough market at the moment. So sales cycles are longer, you're not getting that instant gratification. I think as a sales leader, you have to lead by example. You have to show people how to do it. You have to be there. You have to pick up the phone with them. You have to really help them and be that frontline support and really be that support, because as soon as that trickles and you start to see, it's like anyone in your team, success breeds success. As soon as people start to do really well, that's going to trickle through. And it's just building that motivation and momentum within the team, because once you're with successful people or you're in that kind of environment, that's going to push you and that's going to really help and strive you forward, I think. If you're in sales, you have to be in it for the long game. I don't think you can, especially tech sales, things are taking much longer. We're doing ROIs for small deals now, even in SMB divisions, because people are watching what they're spending, and it's going to get worse before it gets better. But I think if you want to make a career of this and you want to be focused, you have to focus on those KPIs, focus on those metrics, keep ticking the boxes, keep chipping away, keep making sure we talk about the confidence and resilience, like get up in the morning, clean slate, and just have that focus and that laser focus on the end goal, and make sure that you're consistently driving towards that. And if that's not something that's going to push you and motivate you, you're not going to get the quick rewards anymore. It's not going to happen at the moment. I'm sure they'll come, but it's a long game, and you have to be really focused on a career and a long-term progression with that.
I love that answer, and I think that's so important for people to understand that they are playing that long game and to, as you mentioned, just get up in the morning and keep going. At the moment, the climate, the industry is really tough. There are so many redundancies going on, and I think this is creating a sense of unease. People don't know whether they're going to have a career in this industry for a while. They don't know whether they're going to get their next job, if they're maybe in between jobs, and it's not a nice feeling. And I think you can have all of the resilience in the world and all of the confidence, but while there is that uncertainty, you can't control it. Yeah. So what advice would you give for people that may be going through these emotions right now?
Well, I'm there. I'm going through this right now. I'm in between jobs. I'm looking, and the market is tough. There's not a lack of roles. There's just a lot of great candidates out there. So you're competing against people with different experiences, and it's really tough. And I can tell you firsthand how my job now is looking for a new job. I've had countless conversations. I'm meeting loads of people, and it is really hard to wake up every day and go, here we go again. I'm going to get told no. This is literally so similar to a sales job, and it's been so eye-opening for me, not only because it's the first time I've actually gone to market. So for the first time, it's been really great in that sense where I can talk to companies that I want to talk to, but it's also a lot of rejection. It is literally every day you're applying for jobs. No, sorry, you're not the right fit. The biggest tip I would give anyone is just take a breath, take a minute. You can't consistently run at that pace, especially when you're looking for a job. It's going to really impact you, and it can really take its toll on you mentally and physically. But I think do 3-day blocks, set your interview days or your presentation days or your prep days for certain days and blocks again, but really focus on yourself. So take a Friday, just don't think about. I know that's easier said than done, and I'm speaking from my own experience where I'll do Monday to Thursday, loads of calls, screening calls, you know, you're having the same conversation consistently with people. So make sure you just take a day for yourself. Go to the gym, go for a walk, do whatever makes you happy, and just realize it's just a job. You know, you will find another job. I think we can all be hard on ourselves. I know obviously everyone's financial situations are different, but you know, these things do have a way of turning around, and it's just like it's just like sales. The more you put in, the more you'll get out. So make sure that you're consistently applying for roles. But again, it's that mentality where got to get up, you've got to brush yourself off, you've got to start going again, and trust me, it can be very difficult, but things turn around.
They do. And ultimately you're selling yourself, so if you, in the nicest way possible, that sounds like really. So if you're not looking after yourself, then you can't sell yourself to the most effective way. You do have to look after your mental health firstly, and it brings back memories of when I was self-employed. You just think, well, if I'm not working and I've got a day off, I could be making money, like I'm wasting my day, I shouldn't have a day off. But it's like, actually no, you do need to. But when you are, and you mentioned there are jobs out there to look for, when you are looking for a job and you're in that in-between moment, it's so easy to just take the first thing that comes your way because you're desperate. How do you separate those companies that are actually right for you, and what do you look for? Like, have you been using any tactics in your searches and your interview questioning for them? Because it does work both ways. It's not just them interviewing you.
Absolutely. I think that's a really good question and a really good point. You have to treat it like a territory, almost like as you're mapping your ideal profile of your ideal customer profile. So yeah, exactly. I sat down, I was like, where do I want to work? What do I want to do? Do I want to be in tech? What's my next move? What's important to me? Is it culture? Is it the leadership? Is it the progression? What can this company offer me? So really being very thoughtful, not only about the business and what you want, where you want to work, what you're looking for as a person, and list that out. Make sure that you're very clear. So when you're applying, you know exactly what you're applying for, because then you're not going to be applying for things that actually I've got no interest in that. And then you get, it's always those ones, and they go, can we chat? And you're like, oh no, what is that? But
why am I here?
Yeah, I don't know how to do this. But being very thoughtful about who you're approaching. And as you say, it's tough. It depends on your financial situation or, you know, where you are in your career. But being very thoughtful from the outset that you're targeting the right people. And then looking what's important to you. Is it, you know, culture? Is it, like I said, leadership? And making sure that you structure your questions around that, like so you can be very thoughtful about when you're sitting in front of someone exactly how they would approach it, and go and meet the team and just really take your time, because you've hit the nail on the head. You're interviewing them just as much as they're interviewing you. Yeah.
And speaking of, you are interviewing at the moment. What are you looking for? What's important to you in a company?
I think for me, culture is the most important. I just want to work with awesome people, you know, who want to work really hard. Progression, again, it goes back to, I think if you work hard, you're a top performer, you want to do well, the progression will come, the salary will come, you'll be rewarded, but you want to have fun with what you're doing. You want to enjoy the people you work with. If you're getting up every day and you have to do a tough job, which is sales, and you have to go and call people or whatever, however that looks, you want to be in a great environment that you can be motivated and motivate other people, can collaborate with people, and just work with some awesome people. So yeah, that's my top priority. Work with really nice people, and the rest will come.
I love that. Culture is so important. And that brings us on to our final topic of this discussion, which with culture, to me, comes an inclusive culture, a diverse culture. I know that this is a topic that you're very passionate about, but throughout this whole topic of resilience and grit, what women have to face daily and throughout their career, that takes a whole lot of resilience and grit, and especially not only being a female, but a mother. Yeah. What have you experienced in that you could share with our listeners today, and how have you managed that?
Yeah, I think, you know, it's time management, right? We are all people, we are humans. As a woman, you throw a couple of children in there, and it's, you know, it's as great as husbands and men are. They have this innate ability to switch off and go to work, and they don't have to go it's 6, 7 o'clock, I need to be at home. It's just something that's inbuilt in women, I think, instinctively. And making sure you have time for everyone and making sure that you're looking after yourself while doing that. So it's definitely challenging. I think that's my biggest challenge is not only doing time management for myself in my working environment, but like making sure that I stop working so I can see my kids. Yes, I might work again in the evening, but I'm happy to do that because my children are my priority, and they're 3 and 5. They're young. They need me now, and having a company that supports that as well. We talk about culture. It's having that work-life balance. I used to be in the city 4 days a week. I didn't see the kids. I wouldn't see them in the morning. I wouldn't see them in the evening. That's not sustainable. That's going to break anyone because it's not good for you and it's not good for them. So it's very difficult. I think, as I mentioned, women just, it's 7 o'clock, they need to bath. It's just instinctively built in you. A man can just not go to work. My husband, love him for it. But, he doesn't go, oh, it's
Don't
7
this
o'clock.
episode.
Yeah.
We see you.
Yeah. It's 7 o'clock or it's 6, they need to eat. Well, they just don't. I'm not saying that for all men. But
yeah, you have some men that are the stay-at-home dads.
Absolutely.
And great.
And it's amazing. But it's just having that. You've always got that on the back of your mind.
Yeah.
You've got that constant. It can be a really great driver, but you've got that constant, am I doing enough? Am I doing enough at work? Am I doing enough for the children? Am I doing enough? Am I being the best version I can be for everyone? Because I used to be really hard on myself for, this might be our good failure actually, so I probably won't answer, but I used to be really hard on myself for not being 100% at everything. And then I realised you can't be 100% for everything. You are one person and you can only be 100%. So you might, some days work might be 60 and you might be a 40% at mum with your family, but that's okay because you can't push yourself. And some days, it'll balance out. But I think you just have to make sure that you can be the best that you can be in all the various facets without putting too much pressure on yourself, because it's not sustainable.
You can't be everywhere at once.
No, you can't.
I think sales can be the most fantastic job for working mums because you have, if you're doing well, that flexibility, because it is a target-driven role where if you've hit your target, it's okay. You don't have to be working in the office till 6 p.m, 7 p.m. You can take a half day and go pick up your kids, go see them at their school play, and men included as well in this. But what do you think companies can do more to support women and also men that are parents to make the working world a more inclusive place for them?
I think for me, it's just about being open and making it okay to say, hey, I'm going to leave because I want to go fetch my kids. I think a lot of companies, some get it really right. They do a really good job at making sure that that's really open, that line of communication is really transparent. But I think making sure that you feel comfortable enough to say, can I leave at 5? I want to fetch my kids, and not having to feel like you can't ask the question. And that's, again, falls back to culture and making sure that, you're working hard, you don't have to worry about that, and making people feel comfortable with that. Because I think so many people are like, I have to stay, I have to be online till 6. I don't want to ask if I can leave because I don't want to be seen as though I'm not working as hard as everyone else, especially when you're starting out. You want to be there till 7 o'clock. You want to be the last person working and the first person working online. But it's down to companies to make sure that they're open and they allow that. I think that's where it starts.
And it's that trust.
Yeah. Definitely.
You have to, that's what we're going through at the moment with the hybrid culture. We trust our employees to do the job and get it done by working at home. That is one of the good things that COVID brought out of it, is that we don't need to be in the office and be in front of our bosses for them to know that we are working. So as long as you have similar to your communication and trust, then that's fine. But
it goes back to what we were talking about earlier. You could sit in front of your boss for 8 hours a day and do nothing.
Exactly.
It's about being productive. It's about making sure that you're getting the best out of your day, however that looks. You might work from 7 till 3, but you're being the best and you're driving the most value and impact for your mini business, as I'd call it. But you're making that difference for yourself.
Yeah, such an important point. I've learned so much today, but how I end every single episode with all of our guests on Sales Unfiltered is, as this is called Sales Unfiltered and we want to show the truth behind sales and that not every day is great. There are some tough times, quite a few tough times that people go through. I would love for you to share with us, what is one failure or challenge that you faced in your career that's really shaped you to where you are today?
Recently, I've been through a really turbulent time, obviously looking for new work and trying to figure out my next move. And I think it's been a really challenging time just to really self-reflect and really be self-aware, and actually goes back to some of the things that we were talking about where, you know, life, it doesn't always go the way you plan it to, and there will be setbacks, but it's how do you learn from them? How do you push yourself forward? And using these things to really make positive changes. So again, using the time to find where I want to go, what my next move is, and making sure that I stay positive and just learn and roll with the punches, learn from them, and just keep pushing forward.
Well, I'm sure you're going to absolutely smack it, Carmen, and you're going to do so well in your next role. And I'm sure when this episode is published, you will be in your next role, and we'll be like, yeah, go you, and everybody can go give you some love. But thank you so much for appearing on the episode today. I've definitely learned a lot. I'm sure our listeners have as well. And I can't wait to see what the future holds for you.
Amazing. Thank you so much. I'm really excited, and it's been really great to meet you, and thank you for having me today.
You're welcome. Thanks so much for listening. Check out the channel for more episodes like this one, and we'll see you next week.